Hello. Oh, we have to do the intro first.
Yeah.
We're not
Okay,
here.
Oh,
sorry.
no.
That's fine. Over
Yeah,
here.
you can come in from that. Yeah.
Okay. Wait for
Make,
the
make,
entrance.
make it dramatic. That's just ruined my whole piece. No, that's right. Good evening and welcome to this, our 11th speakers event of Michaelmas. My name is Charles Connor. I'm the current speakers officer here, and just a few very quick notices. So the event's left on this week. So on Friday we've got a pub quiz, which has been run by Monkman and Seagull of University Challenge fame. And on Saturday we have the LGBT plus activist Dustin Lance Black speaking on Saturday evening. Just I'm going to go a quick introduction of those two over there. So Jamie Laing and Ed Williams run Candy Kittens, as you can be able to tell from there. The #1 confectionery brand in Selfridges. Jamie is well known as the heir to McVitie's fortune and for appearing in the hit TV show Made in Chelsea. Ed's an absolute key part of the Candy Kittens brand and works alongside him to develop their strategy in that regard. So we're going to hopefully have a really interesting talk about business, entrepreneurship, and other things as well. So without further ado, Jamie and Ed.
Hello. I feel like we should hand out sweets before we...
Yeah.
Do you guys want some sweets? I
It's,
don't know why they're here.
Always a good start.
I mean, this is
Hand
the
out
most
loads.
exciting start
Just so
to
you can
any
eat them.
event
Do you
I've
guys
ever
want
had.
some sweets? Oh my god. This is our brand.
So Jamie, whilst you're doing them, do you want to give us a little rundown about what they actually are? So,
Well, shall I give you the background story?
yeah, give us the background story
Okay.
whilst you're distributing.
So I went to university. Yeah. I went to Leeds Universities and studied theatre and performance. And I basically hated, and still kind of do, hated like authority, hated the idea of being told what to do. Was never good at school, went to an all-boys boarding school called Radley College, and was nearly suspended, nearly expelled, all these kind of things. But I had sport, and sport was the thing that really helped me get through stuff, because I knew I was good at it. And I realized that if I was good at something, then I would pay all my attention to it. So I was at Leeds studying theatre performance. You guys want some sweets too? Here you go. By the way, these are vegan sour apples.
You me do two things at once.
Yeah, I can't do two things at once. Anyway, I was at Leeds University studying theatre performance, and I was in my theatre performance class, and I was sitting next to a girl called Hannah, who I still know to this day. And I said to her, I was actually like, you know what, I'm so bored of doing this. I'm doing a contemporary dance at Leeds University. I said, well, I don't want to do this. I want to start a business. She said, what do you want to start? And I said, I wanted to start a sweet business. I love sweets. I saw that all sweets were kind of boring. They were kind of not fun. They were unsexy. They were all these kind of things. So I was like, you know what, I want to go and start a sweet shop. She said, what are you going to call it? And I said, well, I want to call it Candy, because candy is universal. Everyone knows what candy is. And I want to also call it Kittens. And Kittens were the ambassadors of the sweet company. So this is where I started at Leeds University. Because I never really understood, I still don't, the concept of making other people a success. If you want to be a success, why not do it for yourself? You know, that's my whole sort of ethos behind it. So, left university, didn't really know what to do, but I knew this idea I wanted to start Candy Kittens, and I met Ed Williams. We met in a pub together through a mutual friend. This guy said, I was trying to design like sweets, I was trying to do something with it. And he said, meet this guy called Ed Williams, he's a designer. So I met him in the pub, and that's where we fell in love, isn't it, Ed?
Love at first sight.
Love at first sight. And Ed basically was this incredible designer. He's the same age as me, and he said, look, Jamie, what you should do is you shouldn't make a sweet shop. It's going to be too expensive, all these kind of things. Let's scale it down. Let's make it into packets of sweets. I've got this great idea for branding, things like that. And he showed me these packets of sweets, and it was like a light bulb going off in my head, and I was like, well, this is what we should do together. So that was in 2012?
2012, yeah. May 2012, we launched the company.
There we go.
Yeah, so
Brief little
5
history.
years. 5 years.
5-6 years, yeah.
So thanks very much for having us.
Yeah.
All right, no.
Enjoy the sweets, and we'll see you later.
That's the best introduction they're ever going to have. So Ed, what first got you interested in business? So we've heard Jamie's story. What got you interested in business with your design background, etc.?
So I went to university in Loughborough and studied industrial design. So industrial design is kind of across the easiest way to describe it is a cross between sort of product design and engineering. So you design a product, but then you also understand how it's made, what materials are used to make it, and how it would be mass manufactured, and etc. And quickly realized that was probably the wrong course for me, but always loved kind of putting a brand on the product at the end. So I designed rubbish products, but put them in a lovely box or a lovely logo to go with it. And all the way through university, kind of was very interested in the idea of how you put a brand or add a marketing to a product to sell it, or an event or a service or anything like that. So I started doing lots of design work for local businesses, and quickly kind of got into that whole area, I suppose, entrepreneurship, where I was designing websites for local businesses, branding, stationery, all kinds of different things. I also used to run my own events at university and had a small kind of events business going that was kind of quite a classic thing that I suppose lots of people that have that interest in entrepreneurship kind of trial out at university, and it's kind of a great way of doing it. So I was running different events, student events, and then did that all the way through university, and eventually kind of built up this design company. There was 5 of us working through alongside our degrees, and to the point where then when I graduated, I had a design company, and at that point we were working for lots of local companies, but also national campaigns for brands like Nokia, Bosch Power Tools, all sorts of different wacky, weird clients. But it was really good fun, and then that led me on to meet Jamie, and I guess the whole Candy Kittens opportunity was super exciting, because that was the first time that I could really design something that was completely our own choice and not by somebody else's brief, but actually design something for ourselves that could put on a product and really watch the sales and the impact kind of all come together in one business.
Yeah.
It was really interesting.
Yeah, so obviously you've got background in lots of different areas then, with partnerships with lots of different people. So with partnerships in an entrepreneurial setting, what makes them work? What makes your partnership work? So what's the key ingredient in?
So we get asked this question quite a bit, and the thing is, I always think is that when you always told that kind of cheesy line, which is never sort of go into business with someone who's your best friend, or never go into someone who's your brother, or always someone who's completely different. The great thing about Ed and I is that we are extremely close in friendship, massively close, but we are completely different people. And I always describe us as a triangle, don't I? I say we're a triangle. We have we start here, we always meet at the top. Ed has basically makes up for all my bad points, and I don't really make up for any of your points at all. But Ed has, we make a great partnership because we know where we both lie. We know where we both sit within the business. Ed knows what he does, and I know what I do. And it's difficult sometimes for me because it's always what I describe as the driver or the pilot or someone that who always gets the sort of the fame or the pleasure or the kind of everyone always sort of gives the praise. When in fact it's the engine that is the one running the entire thing. And how I describe it is that in a sense, I would be the pilot, but Ed is the engine that keeps going underneath. And that's why we work so well together, because we come together in such great unison. Do you not think, Ed?
I think so, yeah. I don't know if that's a compliment or a...
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Was that the...
Yeah, that was an excellent answer.
Yeah, I think partnerships are super important. And beyond Jamie and I, the partnership that we have, I think that, we have lots of partnerships with retailers and other brands that we collaborate with, and outside companies that we obviously need to help us grow. And I think that what we always look for is a partnership that works for both parties. I think if you want to just sell, for taking the retailer as an example, if you just want to sell your product to a retailer and deliver it and then just let them do the rest of the work, it's only ever going to go so far, and you're never going to kind of push beyond that. So to make sure that every relationship we have, whether it's inside the business or outside, it's always done on that kind of partnership, two-way basis, and it has to work for both sides.
Yeah, definitely. So you said all that triangle. If you could describe each other in 3 words, I know that's a bit trite, but if you could sort of think of 3 words which capture...
I would say, for Ed, it would be blunt. It would be... but in a good way, blunt. It would be blunt. It would be... incredibly hardworking, and also creative.
Okay. Ed?
Oh, God. Oh, no.
I would say energetic would be a good one. Jamie is the most energetic person I think I've probably ever met, and whether you sort of have to get a 4 a.m. flight or stay up for a 3 a.m. party, Jamie is the guy that you want there to be there and kind of get everybody going and bring a smile and energy to the event or wherever you're doing. Jamie's energetic. I'd say fun, and I think that actually all of the things Jamie just described about me sometimes makes me think that I'm not the fun person. But Jamie definitely brings the fun and kind of humor to the brand, and I think that's a brilliant trait in sort of brand ambassador. And I think actually sort of tenacity as well, which I suppose we both have to a certain degree, but Jamie's ability to keep pushing forward and not give up and really a little bit like a kind of a puppy dog with a bone. You know, Jamie just wants to keep going and keep going and keep going and never kind of let it go.
Yeah. I suppose that persistence and that tenacity, lots of people, especially in your position, Jamie, being the heir to obviously the McVitie's fortune, I suppose you could maybe be excused to sort of sit back a little bit, maybe. What is it which gets you going?
I think this is the thing that also, it's kind of like a sort of understanding that case, you know, money doesn't grow on trees, and you know, I am in an unfortunate position where, you know, I've lived a very sort of privileged lifestyle, but my parents don't give me money. I have, you know, I can buy a house with it. That's, you know, I have my flat. That's pretty much it. Yeah. In terms of when it came to Candy Kittens, Ed and I started with nothing. We didn't have anything. We basically created a ghost, in a sense. We created this brand, Candy Kittens, off the back of this television show. If you've seen it, it's called Made in Chelsea. And I went on that show for many different reasons, but one of the reasons was to promote this brand, Candy Kittens. And we basically created a ghost. We created a brand. We had nothing. We had no sweets. It actually took us 18 months to create this sweet. And we decided, Ed decided that we need to launch this brand. So we basically designed T-shirts, put them on a website, launched the website, and that night we did £27,000 worth of sales in that evening. And so from that £27,000, we then had to go and make the actual T-shirts, and we used that money to actually start it. And in terms of persistency, we actually talk about this on the car on the way down. There are so many businesses and so many people in this world, you know, actors. My sister's an actress, and the problem with her, she doesn't have that persistency. She gives up very easily. And I always say to her, you know, when you get knocked down to 9 times, you get up 10. Persistency in any kind of game, whatever it is, doesn't matter if you're a baker, an actor, making sweets, in a television show, you have to keep pushing it. It's the people who give up are the people who fail. And it's not an easy road. If it was an easy road, every single person in the world would do it. But it's that passion and that drive in order to get to a certain place that really pushes you through. And that's why if you're going to go and set up a brand or you want to go and do something, I really honestly believe more than anything is you have to have that fire within you to do it. You really have to. I got told this bit of information when I was first started out. I basically wanted to be repped by these guys called James Grant. This is when I first started television. I love television more than anything. I want to be a presenter. And they said, Jamie, you're too posh. No one's ever going to relate to you. It's never going to happen. And I went, okay, well, I've been offered this TV show, a reality show about posh people. And they said, and they went, it'll be the end of you, never do it. So I went and did it. Because we always do things that we're told we can't do. And it turned out all right. And I went to James Grant, who these guys amazingly look after Holly Willoughby, Anton Deck, every single person you can imagine. They said, Jamie, we can't rep you. And I went, okay. And they said, but you have to remember one thing. If you're driving down the M1 to Leeds, remember you're going to Leeds, never veer off to Manchester. If you start to veer off to Manchester, you're going to get distracted. And that's what Ed and I had done since the very beginning in terms of just life and business and branding and all that kind of stuff. From the very beginning, we knew where we wanted to go. We knew what we wanted to head to. We knew where we wanted to end up. And we've never veered away from that. We've had a little bit of struggles across the way, but we've always gone in that direction. And that is key with persistency in life. I honestly believe you need to know exactly where you're going. If you get distracted, you fuck it up. And that's why we've always just gone down that road. Now I can go.
So, obviously, that's as you said, that persistency and that drive is vitally important, as you said, in getting businesses going. Which business or businessman or business person in that regard do you sort of both admire the most? Who's that person or that business which you think is doing things in exactly the right way?
I suppose to go back to my kind of industrial design starting point, it would be somebody like James Dyson. I think that what he has done is take something that's completely challenged the market, really, really created a kind of something that completely goes against everything that we knew and understood, and the manufacturers wanted, vacuum cleaners were designed to have a bag, and they were designed to break after 5 years because that suited them, because you'd have to go and buy another one. And he's actually created something that should last you a lifetime, and everybody thought you're crazy, but he's gone on and done that and branded it so well and made it absolutely iconic. And I think that's that kind of marriage of beautiful design and good kind of commercial savvy. But I mean, we look at lots and lots of people. I think we're constantly sort of eyes and ears open to new ideas and meet and speak to as many people as we possibly can. I've listened to a podcast called How I Built This, which I think is a really good one. Lots of people here probably have heard about it as well. And there's always some unbelievable stories on there. And I think it's amazing how the stories are always kind of, people go through those same kind of peaks and troughs and the same problems and struggles that we all share and have that in common. I recently read Phil Knight's book, and Phil Knight is the guy that started Nike. And now, obviously, I'm sure people in here tonight are wearing Nike trainers. I can see some there. It's now, you can't imagine a world without that brand, but it only started in the 70s or something. It's not that old. And, he was still struggling to fund it right until the point that they went public, and he's now a very, very happy man. But it's an interesting story.
That is really interesting.
But that's the great thing, and that's also the great thing about like business and starting a business and doing a brand, is the fact that you do have those ups and downs, because if it was constantly always up, it would just it would honestly be boring. The prospect, the idea that you could fail is what makes it exciting. It honestly is. And we always told that thing, which is life is like a heart monitor, and same as your business. If you're surviving, you're going up and down. So you have to have those highs and lows in order to survive. If you're flatlining, you're dead. So you have to have that in order to survive, and that's in terms of business. But I'm the same. Ed walks around supermarkets, different places, just taking photos of all different brands. The entire
Pretty strange.
He's obsessed with branding. Literally, just takes photos of all these different things. I mean, the big guns for me, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, all these guys who are like changing the world.
Yeah.
I mean, just the way they. Again, we had this in car. Sorry, we're late. We had a 3.5 hour journey. We had to speak a science. We spoke of different businessmen. But those guys, just because they have a vision. I just love people. I love people who have passion and they have a vision where they want to get to, and they really go for it. Elon Musk, when he fired off SpaceX, when he fired off his rockets, he fired off 3 and he went bankrupt pretty much and fired off 1 more, and then the 4th one actually worked, and there's the one that actually returned back down. It's that endless kind of thing. You don't stop.
Yeah.
Persistency. You just keep going because you have a dream.
Yeah.
Those are the guys who are just epic in this world.
Yeah, definitely. And that sort of tech side is really interesting, because having looked at some of the Candy Kittens branding online, that clearly is a really important thing for you guys.
I think the success and the kind of sort of hype around these tech businesses is difficult to get away from in 2017. But I think also it's worth remembering that not every business can be a tech business, and there's also so many amazing stories outside of tech and things that are also happening, whether it's in food or drink or in fashion or in household goods or whatever else. But tech obviously plays a big part now in everyday life. But I think also there are some kind of pitfalls that come with those big tech businesses, and the ones you don't hear about obviously are all of the
MySpaces.
the very depressed people that
The
are in
Bebos.
Silicon
The
Valley
Bebo.
somewhere trying to make it work. But I think that there's kind of pros and cons to that whole world.
Yeah, I mean, Jamie just posed, were you on Bebo? I think
I probably was.
Were you guys on Bebo? Did you have
I
Bebo?
think that was just before my time.
My statuses were horrendous. I mean, have you checked your old Bebo account?
No, I haven't looked back at it, but I might do that tomorrow morning. Yeah.
I can't delete mine. Mine's just there floating. I mean, I put up statuses which are the most cringy statuses I think anyone's ever seen.
Sounds like some good fodder for the Daily Mail.
yeah, cool. You say that tomorrow morning. And I suppose that leads me on to the next question, which was on my list, which was what's been your biggest mistake, both in business and also maybe in Bebo?
I mean, the great thing about mistakes is that when you make a mistake, you learn from it massively, and that's the key thing. Make as many mistakes as you can right now, because this is the time to make them. When you're older, it's a lot more difficult to make mistakes, and I've turned 29 now, and it's getting more. Had this whole motto that I said, ask for forgiveness rather than permission, so go and do it and say sorry later, and that doesn't quite fly anymore. Biggest mistake that I have made. I mean, in terms of business, what I would say for Ed and I don't know if you agree, but our biggest mistake was probably our cash flow at the beginning. I think cash is oxygen, and you don't realize that when you start a business and you think you're going to be fine. Get as much money as you can at the beginning, because especially if you're selling something like sweets or you're selling something like that, you need the cash, because it's very tricky to, if it suddenly blows up, if it does for you guys and it blows up big and you start selling loads, you're going to need the cash in order to fund it. And from the beginning, we didn't do that. We hired lawyers to do something for us, and the bill came in, it was 15 grand, and we had 3 grand in the account. I mean, we made big mistakes like that, because we were 22, 23 years old and had no idea what we were doing. We thought we could sell these things, and they would just come in, and it doesn't quite work like that. So I think our understanding of cash flow was probably our biggest mistake from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's such a hard question, it's ridiculously cliched, but I find it quite difficult to think about the mistakes. We've actually learned so much along the way, and every time we kind of are just moving forward so quickly that you don't kind of stop and think about, oh shit, I shouldn't have done that. But you're always just trying to fix it. So I think in reality, we've made hundreds and hundreds of mistakes. The big one that stands out for me, we bought an ice cream van that we just liked the look of it, and we wanted to get a van for promotional stuff for festivals and events and different things, and we decided that the van we had to get was a Bedford CF2, and you look at it, and it's like a really cool ice cream van if you look at it, like a vintage van, and went to this guy's house in Essex somewhere, and it was on his drive, covered in a big blue sheet, and he pulled the blue sheet off, and it was like grass growing out of the wheels, and like just falling apart, rust everywhere. I was like, yeah, I'd love it. We'll buy it. Bought it, but didn't try and start the engine, didn't even get inside it, and we'd already bought this thing. Had to get it towed away, taken to this garage, had it all resprayed, new floor, new roof. Amazing. It looked like the best van you've ever seen, but the engine just still didn't start. So, yeah, that was probably our biggest mistake. So everybody says, what happened to the Candy van? It was the best thing I've ever seen. And well, it didn't have an engine.
But then again, off the back of mistakes like that, we sold the actual ice cream thing in it. So, what do we sell the actual?
Yeah, we sold the ice cream machine inside the ice cream van for more than we bought the ice cream van for.
So this is the whole point. Every cloud, right, has...
That was a save. But now we've got a nice new 100% electric vehicle. So on Elon Musk's kind of wave, we're there.
We're there. But the thing is that I think what you should get from that is the fact that you can make mistakes, make as many mistakes as you can. And if someone tells you that you've made a mistake, honestly, be like, well, it doesn't matter. Like, who cares? People tell you that you make mistakes the whole entire time. Ed and I were told on numerous occasions, we couldn't do this, we couldn't do that, you've done this wrong, you've done that wrong. And we just kept going, no, we think this is the right way. We had no idea about how to make sweets. As Ed says, if you Google how to make sweets, nothing comes out. We had no clue. We had to discover how to do this ourselves. And we made a huge amount of mistakes, but I honestly look at it like this. If you're going to play The Mask, have you guys seen The Mask with Jim Carrey? Okay, Matt, have you seen it? Okay, fine. So if someone was going to bring out a remake of The Mask, as the actor, if you went and watched Jim Carrey performing The Mask, it's impossible to get that out of your mind. You would just kind of copy what he did. So the great thing about us is that we had never seen anyone make sweets. We didn't know anyone who made sweets. We knew nothing about it. So we went down a road of having no clue about it, which got us to the place where we are. It's like putting on a Hamlet play but knowing nothing about Shakespeare. It's a great way to do things. So make mistakes, because it actually gets you to the right place in the end. Well, not always, but most of the time.
And I mean, I suppose that's sort of quite exciting, though, sort of doing things without a script.
Wasn't exciting when the van didn't start,
no.
to be honest.
But I was going to ask, where is the van now?
I don't know. We actually sold it to a lovely French man who turned it into a cheese toasty truck.
Really?
Yeah, true story. So it was pink, now it's yellow.
So that
does
movie
nice
Chef.
cheese.
Have you seen the movie Chef?
No, it does cheese toasties. Yeah,
so it's now sort of
I'd have to think. I remember.
Going around the lanes.
And he's looking for the freezer.
Toulouse.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, right. So it's the summer holidays sort of search out for the cheese
Yeah,
toasty
yeah, yeah,
fan
exactly.
films.
Keep your eyes peeled.
Yeah. So, in terms of the plan for the future, apart from becoming cheese toasty sort of entrepreneurs and going around France, where do you think Candy Kittens is going? So we've been doing it for 6 years. In 6 years' time, where do you want it to be?
Wow. We've got loads of really exciting plans, and I think that the sweets you have all tried this evening, I think, are probably the apple flavour.
Yeah.
So the sweets you tried tonight are the apple flavour, which is one of our very first kind of trials of a vegan sweet. So it's taken the gelatin out completely. So most gummy sweets, or jelly sweets, jelly for the gelatin, are made with gelatin, which obviously isn't well, maybe not obviously, but isn't a very nice ingredient, really. If you can make something without that, why not? So we've been working hard since the very beginning, really, to make the best possible sweet, and are always striving to kind of develop further and improve and sort of take ingredients away or add more to something else. So this is one of the first vegan sweets, and in January, the whole range will be converted to vegan friendly, which is really exciting for us, because not only is that a huge food trend, I think something like 20% of 16 to 24-year-olds in the UK are now following a vegan diet, and the vegetarian number is even higher than that. But beyond people that have it for dietary requirements or lifestyle choice, there's obviously religious groups and wider audiences for different cultural and kind of lifestyle choices that applies to. So we hope that opens us up to an even bigger audience of sweet lovers. And beyond that, I think we really are striving to become a household name and to be the British confectioner. The gummy sweet was invented in Britain by the guys that invented wine gums, but that's hundreds of years ago. There's really been absolutely no innovation since then. So everything else, Haribo and all the other kind of famous kind of jelly or gummy sweets, have all been done by Germans or French companies. So we see ourselves as the best thing that's ever happened to British confectionery, and we're here to stay.
Since wine gum.
Yeah, since wine gum. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Jamie.
that's the thing. I think, when we started the business, we always dreamed very big. And I think you've got to do that in life. I think, what's the point of thinking small? You've got to think outside the box. You know, you guys are at Cambridge. You're thinking big things. And I think that's the way we looked at it. You know, we're always told when you start a business or start a brand, you kind of start small. So in terms of sweets, you give it to small retailers. You go to different like news agents and you hand out to local people. We didn't. We went straight to the big guns. We went straight to Waitrose, straight to Selfridges. And we started big, and that's what our vision has always been. We want to establish ourselves as British. That's 100% what we want to do. But without a doubt, we want to spread to America. We want to spread to Asia. We want to go all over the world. And that's our vision, and we won't stop until we do it, because you don't want to set up from our point of view, we don't want to set up something small. We want to become the love brand for everyone's confectionery taste. You know, you go into a Carphone warehouse, and you either pick an Apple phone or a Samsung phone, depending what you want. That's your love brand. We want everyone to walk into a supermarket and go, my love brand's Candy Kittens. And that's what we're trying to do at the moment.
And on that sort of that note, I'd like to thank the pair here for that introductory segment and open the floor to questions. So does anyone have any questions at all? Anyone? Don't be shy.
Hello.
Good. Let's look back there.
I'm interested, you guys did equity crowdfunding recently, I think. And I was just wondering how it went and if you guys had any tips or advice on how that works.
So you're thinking about doing some crowdfunding yourself? Yeah. So we did a crowdfunding raise about 12 months ago, I think, and we're probably the worst people to ask for advice on this. So we launched a crowdfunding campaign via a platform called Seeders, which is equity crowdfunding. So people invest their cash and get a share in the business. There's lots of different ways of doing it, but that's the one that we chose. And we were trying to raise, from the top of my head, I think it was £250,000. And we had it was a 3-week campaign. We had 3 days left, and we had about 85% of the money already committed. So people had already put all of their hard-earned cash in, which was very nice and flattering. And then one of our investors, who had previously invested about a year earlier, came to us and said, well, hang on a minute, Ed, if these 589 people have invested, you guys must be onto a good thing. Why don't I just put the money in myself? Which was really, really nice of him. And we kind of spoke about it a lot and kind of went through all the pros and cons and decided ultimately we would prefer to have just one investor than 589 to keep happy. And we unfortunately had to close the crowdfunding round. We sent all of those 589, I don't know if that was the number, it was about that, sent them all a box of sweets to say thank you very much for your commitment to Candy Kittens and keep watching us and blah, 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 and refunded their money, of course, and then this lovely guy invested the whole lot himself.
But in terms of your question, I think it's a really good platform to use because I just think it's amazing, especially if you're going for, we looked at it to the equity basis, and if you have, I don't know, 500 people or 1,000 people or 100 people invest in your company, that's 100 people that know your brand already or want to be a part of your brand. And I think it's a great way to create an army or a sort of gang.
And I think the big thing, the tips I would give is to have, firstly, a brilliant video.
Yeah.
So have a really good video that tells your story kind of in the shortest amount of time possible. And then an excellent kind of pitch deck or a PDF, something to send out to people because you get loads and loads of emails, constant. We had sort of hundreds of emails a day, people asking, requesting information, so be ready to give them that information in one nice, concise book. And also talk to as many people as you possibly can before you launch. So lots of the successful campaigns you see that all of these crowdfunding platforms talk about are probably pre-funded. So they actually line up all their investment before they go live. So they go live and then they say, wow, we funded in an hour. But actually, it was just the fact that they'd already agreed all these people were going to invest. They then press the button to go live, and they all pile in with their money. And it just looks like this big success story, where in reality, it wasn't. I'm a bit of a crowdfund cynic, I'm afraid. Sorry. Also do it in America, because the valuations are much better.
Go to America and say it was there. It's way bigger. Loads of money. Anyone else? Hi.
Yeah.
Hi. So, obviously, I think a lot of your advertising for Candy Kittens was done through social media and Made in Chelsea and your following that came from that show. And I was just wondering, if you didn't have that platform and that way of spreading the message and spreading the word about Candy Kittens, how do you think you would have gone about advertising? And do you think it would be possible to have gone to places such as Selfridges and Waitrose in the first instance? Basically, what would you suggest as an alternative?
I think it's a tricky question, that, because I think that we were told, and we have a very good sort of mentor, I suppose, who owns a very big sweet company in Germany, and he still is baffled to this day how we launched a new sweet into the market. He doesn't understand how anyone can do it because it's such a tight kind of market. It's a tricky one. I think in life you're thrown opportunities. And it doesn't matter what it is or where it is, you are thrown opportunities and it's up to you to go and grab them. And from my side, I saw doing Made in Chelsea and doing these things as an opportunity to promote my business, as a marketing tool. And that's what I took. If that didn't exist, I don't know how I would, that's what I chose at the time. It was a huge risk, but I chose it, and that's what I wanted to do. So it's a tricky one. I don't know how. I think, again, it's really believing in your brand, really believing what you sell. It's also having a USP, so a unique selling point in the sense where, for instance, the guys from Airbnb, they basically were two broke guys who were designers from San Francisco, or something. They were somewhere, and they went to San Francisco to go and set up a business together. And there was a big convention going on for all these designers, and they thought, what, they couldn't afford their rent. So they asked people from the convention to come and stay in their house for them. That's what they did. So they came over and stayed in the house. They put air beds on the floor, and they made them breakfast. And they realized they made money from it. And they said, well, this is a thing. So they went to loads of angel investors, these big guys who had lots of money, and said, we've got this idea. We know this works. And no one believed them. They said, how strangers don't want to stay with strangers, that's not a thing. But they knew that it would work. They knew something in that business that no one else knew, and that's what you've got to find out. You've got to know something within your business that no one else knows because someone would have done it already. And that's what we did with Candy Kittens. We knew that there was a gap in the market to make a sweet which was gluten-free, natural flavors, that was sexy, fun, exciting, cool, different, that would change the market. We knew that was the case because we wanted it, and we knew other people would want it. It's just about getting it out there somehow. I use Made in Chelsea and social media and all those kind of things as a platform. There will be something else there. There will be something that you find, something that you come across. You just got to really jump at that opportunity when it arrives. What do you think, Ed?
Yeah, I agree. I think that the big thing that actually helped us to launch was not really the Made in Chelsea stuff. And I think particularly when you come to talk to big retailers like Selfridges or Tesco or Waitrose, they actually couldn't really care that much about Jamie. So they obviously, some of them like the show, some of them don't like the show. Sometimes it's a real double-edged sword sometimes, the Made in Chelsea kind of element of the brand, because it can work against you as much as it's working for you. I think what they want is a really good product, a really good team, and be confident that you're going to put something behind it that sells the product. Because like I said earlier, in that kind of partnership mentality, Tesco's don't sell the product for you. You've really got to drive those sales. And how do you sell a bag of sweets that's on a shelf in 300 Tesco stores around the country? That's quite a difficult challenge. So thinking about those sort of things and proving to them that you think you can do it. We still think we can. We're not sure we can yet, but we're trying.
Yeah.
Definitely. Any more questions at all? Yep.
Hi.
Just down here. Can I ask you just to wait until the microphone gets
I've got a
to you?
mic.
Sorry to bring it around to Made in Chelsea. How authentic is Made in Chelsea?
It's very authentic, weirdly. We are all arseholes. It is authentic. Basically what happens is they give you a call time, or whatever it is. It seems very easy. Or, for example, they'll say, right, Jamie, you are filming at 1 o'clock in the afternoon with Spencer. You have to turn up, and it's going to be a scene. It's going to be a casual scene. So you turn up. It's in the Bluebird, so you turn up there. The scene will take, if it's a one-on-one scene like that, it takes anything from 4 to 7 hours to film. They do different shots of those kind of things. And you sit there and you know you can't talk about the weather, because that's not going to make it. You have to talk about things which are relevant in your lives. But there are no scripts, there's no construction, that kind of sense. You don't go, I'm going to go and pretend I like this girl, or I'm going to go and flirt with this person. Everything is real, which is a struggle sometimes. Of course, in your head, in the back of your mind, you are creating entertainment, so you know if you take that person on a date or you're doing this or that, you know it's going to create entertainment. But actually everything surrounding it is pretty real. As much as people, if you speak to someone like Spencer, he'll say it's not real because he was an arsehole. So that's why, and he's a psychopath. He is. But in a sense, it is all real, yeah.
Good. Any more questions at all? Mark, over there.
Hi.
Hi.
So the impression that we seem to be getting of you guys is that you're kind of like chalk and cheese characters, right? So I'm guessing that probably leads to kind of butting heads in the business context sometimes. And I'm wondering, like, what are your kind of pro tips for resolving those conflicts? And also, what do you fight over?
Patience. We had this one time where in Bath, do you remember Bath? We had a shop that we did a pop-up shop in Bath, and Ed had organised press and organised everything, and as meant to be, then I turned out how many hours late? 4 hours late?
Too many.
Too many times. I've turned up a lot of times late. Do you know how you get past these things, honestly, please? It's friendship, firstly. It's the drive and the passion that you both know you're heading the same. It's the triangle effect. You're both heading to the same spot, and you both know exactly where you're going. Ed and I don't need to talk to each other about where we want to go or if it's right or wrong to do that thing. We both know we're heading to the right place. I think you clash heads is when you both have different opinions and decisions you want to do.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, strangely enough, we tend not to disagree or argue that much on many things. And I think it's just a mutual kind of understanding that we both bring different things to the table. And ultimately, like Jamie says, we both want to get to that same point. So we're sort of probably annoyingly just right for each other.
We're in love. I told you, we're very much in love.
But were you a little bit annoyed in Bath?
Yeah, I was annoyed in Bath. Yeah, that
Furious.
was. We don't talk about Bath anymore, Charles.
No.
Have you been back?
No, it's too raw.
Too
Can't do
raw,
it,
yeah.
I also missed a flight back from Dublin once. That was bad.
Jamie's very good at missing flights. Very, very good, yeah.
Yeah, but that's the best way. And again, the same thing is that you learn from your mistakes, and you also have to be patient with one another. That 100%. You guys are a team together. You know, the best football teams in the world, look at Wales, right? Last week, they do well because they're such an amazing team. Tottenham, they're an amazing team, right? And it's because you may have different characters and all these kind of things, but you are a team together, and you are going forward to that same place. You've got to stick together through thick and thin. You've got to, you've made that decision to be together. Stick with it. You're going to make it 100%. And it's the people who give up that persistency, again, the same thing. Get knocked down 9 times, get up 10. You have to keep going.
Amazing. Any more questions at all? So I'm going to take one from the front here.
I like your jacket.
Jamie, if you had to choose a McVitie's biscuit, what would you choose?
I actually went to the McVitie's. Do you know how many digesters are eaten a day? What do you think? In the UK?
Me personally?
Yeah, how many do you think? Take a guess.
You had 3 while we were waiting back there.
Yeah.
I have actually had a chocolate digestive today.
Yeah.
What do you think? Just digestive biscuits, not like
Just-
hobnobs or anything like that, just
Okay.
digesters.
And no chocolate, just
Just purely a
just
digestive
chocolate.
biscuit.
Okay, that's just changed my. I'm gonna say 500,000.
4.4 million are eaten a day. It's nuts. So 600 to 700 lorries worth leave the factory a day for digestive. It's crazy. I went to this factory because my family did start it, and it's an amazing story. But I mean, they've got these new caramel ones out, which are just pretty damn badass. Do you know the caramel ones? They're a joke. Good. So those ones are pretty cool. Probably that one. Yeah.
Ed, what's your favorite?
I like just a plain digestive biscuit, actually. And that probably just sort of, again, is kind of a...
Caramel's too
metaphor for
exciting for you.
Our personalities, yeah.
It's too exciting for you, isn't it? I can't
Yeah,
handle it.
exactly. Just keep it plain, boring.
Effective.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, blunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Any more questions at all? Tom.
Hi. I was just wondering, how do you go about identifying a gap in the market? So from the outside, all markets look very saturated. How do you go about finding one? Do you have to purposely look for one, or do you stumble upon one which you're passionate about and then follow that?
It's a good question. I think for us, the way we did it, so Jamie came to me and had this idea to open a sweet shop, as he said briefly at the start, and his pitch was that I want to open the world's coolest sweet shop, and I'm going to sell sweets like the fashion stores sell clothing, and I want to make it an amazing experience and really, really cool. People come and take photos in there, and et cetera, et cetera. And I kind of said, okay, well, that's fine, but what we kind of started talking about what sweets we wanted to sell. And then it was kind of that accidental realization. We really just stumbled across it and realized that, okay, there are no cool, fashionable sweets that we can sell, and sort of develop that into an idea. And the more we looked at it, the more it was just kind of glaringly obvious to us that there was this massive niche that could be filled. But I think actually that's quite a big trend that's happened across food at the moment. Lots of food and drink categories. People like Fever Tree have premiumized tonic water. Proper Corn have premiumized popcorn. There's a pork scratchings in your bar around the corner that Jamie just sampled. It's from our friend's company called Snaffling Pig. They've premiumized pork scratchings. Who could premiumize that? You know, everybody is going for that more premium, and I think that there's a big trend at the moment in eating. Obviously, everybody's talking about health, but then when you're going to have a product that's unhealthy or perhaps a bit of an indulgence, then you really want to indulge and treat yourself and go for the best or the most unhealthy possible. So that's kind of, I think, a good way to start, looking at how you can make things better, perhaps. But there's loads of examples, and I think gaps in market, there's lots of different reasons and ways you can start, but there's companies like Uber didn't really do anything that exciting. They just made a taxi service better, or EasyJet just made flying cheaper. Or often the most successful things are really just quite simple.
Yeah. Any more? Happy down there.
It's my favorite bit when they bring the mic over.
So you just mentioned Fever Tree as like one of the kind of brands that's doing really well at the moment. And part of the reason, obviously, they've got to a point now where their best option was to sell and to take kind of investment in that way. Do you think, obviously, you seem like you're very into the brand, you're very like committed to independence. Do you think there might become a point where that's limiting what you can do with the brand?
Jamie's looking at me because he doesn't know the answer, and I'm not sure I do either. But I think that we love to behave like an independent company, and Jamie mentioned the fact that we don't know anything about sweets. We actually don't know anything about food or drink or retail. So we're able to go in and just ask questions that nobody else would be stupid enough to ask. So that naivety, I think, is a massive sort of benefit and a massive advantage, thank you, to what we're trying to achieve. But I don't know, I hope that we manage to keep hold of our independence, but it definitely is something that is kind of starting to creep into our thinking as we grow and become bigger. We're now, the sort of quantities that we produce and sell and move around are now becoming to such a level that we're actually working with some pretty big companies. And that, I suppose, gives you actually creates more of a weakness when you're an independent. But I don't know, I hope that we're able to stay there for a while. I think we've got a long way to go until we're Fever Tree size, and if we get to their stage and then have to think about whether or not we can still remain independent, I think it's probably quite a nice problem to have.
Good question. I didn't have an answer.
Any more at all? So I'm just going to take one from the third row there.
What do you prefer doing, Candy Kittens or Made in Chelsea?
Ooh. I'm in a very fortunate position where this goes back to having the best business partner in the entire world. Television is my absolute love. I love entertaining more than anything. Always wanted to do that. But also, I love creating. I love building something. I love, I hope to think in the future I'd love to have a family, because building something up from the ground is the most exciting, rewarding thing in the entire world. It's very difficult to choose. I mean, what is more rewarding? If I'm like, building Candy Kittens is more rewarding, because I give this analogy. It's like when I was 15 years old, and I really fancied this guy called Tintin McDonald, and we were in Croatia together on this boat, and we'd been flirting all week. It was epic, and I loved her so much, and we sat on a rock together, and it was about 6 a.m, and still to this day, I think to myself, I'd never kissed her, and now she's married and all these kind of things, and I really regret I never kissed her at that moment. And that is the same with a brand. If you have a brand idea, you'll have the same kind of regret. And for me, thank God, I started Candy Kittens and we built it, because I had the idea from 19 or whatever the age was. And it gives you real kind of fulfillment. And it could still fail tomorrow. I mean, we could die, we could go broke, we have no idea. We have no idea what can. People may cancel all the sweets in the world. But it's the fact that what you learn from it, the experience you get from it, and the immense pleasure you get from going into a supermarket, someone seeing your brand there. It is hugely, immensely rewarding. And also, this is the other piece of advice I was told, which I think Ed and I really follow, which is so true, is business is paid in 2 currencies, cash and experience. Take the experience first and the cash will come later. Basically, if you set up a business and it fails, it doesn't matter, because you experienced, and the experience is what you need to have from startup. Forget the money. If you go for something because you want to make cash, you're going to fail 100%. Go to it because you want to experience stuff, and if you make cash, it's a massive bonus. If you experience, at some point you will get to the money, because it's at the end of the rainbow. So yeah, to answer your question, I love television more than anything, and I will continue to do it until I die. But the more rewarding thing is probably Candy Kittens. Television's a bit fickle. Yeah. Candy Kittens aren't.
Yeah, Candy Kittens, they won't let you down.
Yeah.
Any more at all? Just take Nish in the second row there. And I'll take behind as well. No, oh, yeah.
Hi, I was just wondering, who is your favourite co-star on Made in Chelsea and why?
Ed? Who's my favourite?
Who's your least favourite?
Harry Barron, twat. I don't like him. The weird thing is we're all mates. We'll all be mates since we're 15 years old type thing. So Mitten, Sam, Proudlock, Francis, those guys. Proudlock and Francis, those are my homies for sure. I love those boys very much. But we've lived together and we've known each other since, I've known Proudlock since I was 14. So, we grew up together. That's what it's so great. You get to hang out with your mates and you get paid to do it. It's a pretty awesome job. But you do have to talk about your love life a lot.
And one from Nish.
Who's yours, Ed? Who's your favourite character?
Yeah, I thought that was directed towards Ed.
Ed watches it a lot, though.
My favourite character is probably that guy you don't like. What was his name?
Harry Barron.
Yeah, he'll do, yeah.
Any reason?
Just because Jamie doesn't like him.
And one from Nish. That's okay. Have you got?
Hi. If you could start a new business today in something different, what would it be?
God, we say this.
Go on, you can answer this one if you like. Then.
I really want to do this, and Ed and I will start this one. I'll force him into doing it. I want to set up a sort of. I don't suppose that's a really intense, but almost a mental health drink in a sense. Basically, I have an idea of how to make a drink that relaxes you, and basically everything out there is like Gatorade, Red Bull, faster, stronger, alcohol, quicker, and I want to create something that actually just mellows you out, focuses you, doesn't make you drowsy. And put it in a bottle and sell it. That's what I really want to do, just because I think it's a really cool thing to create, and something that actually helps you rather than enhances your kind of thing. So I think a lot of stigma is against all this mental health, and kids at the age of 8 have it in school, now, and social media creates this huge, terrible thing. So I think people need to stop going for instant pleasure, and that's what the reason why it's so high is because everyone's focusing on the next thing. If you want to get high, you take a drug. If you want to drink, you get drunk. If you want to be entertained, watch YouTube. People need to settle down a bit and focus on the now rather than things. So at one point you'll see a drink come out, and that will be insane.
Well, when I've done the sweets, then done the drink, I don't know, I think that I'd quite like to do something with the NHS. I think is really, this is not as exciting as Jamie's drink, but I think the NHS is, if it was run more like a commercial business, I think that would be interesting. And I think then the gap between NHS and private health is so big that if there was kind of like an easy jet for healthcare that was kind of like a pay-as-you-go, quick, no frills, but did the job, I think that could be quite interesting. But that's obviously not the easiest thing.
Giving away your ideas.
Yeah, but there we go.
Yeah.
Well, if you can do it before me, then congratulations. I'm already started.
And any more?
Hi.
Just down here.
Hi. Everyone on Made in Chelsea seems to be getting younger, and loads of the original people have left. How long do you envisage staying on Made in Chelsea for?
I'm Peter Pan. I actually just stay the same age. It's interesting. This goes back to my love of television. It's very difficult. I've always wanted to be a presenter. I've always wanted to have my own chat show. That's what I've always wanted to do. And I think I call it the Matthew McConaughey effect. You have to go from being How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days to an Oscar winner. Same with reality TV. You have to go from a reality TV star to a James Corden. And the way you do that is you persistency. You stick at it. Hey, I mean, I don't want to wake up every day and film and talk about my love life and things like that, but I do it because I love television. I want to stay in that world. And I'm very particular about what I pick and choose. You get thrown these things like Jungle and Big Brothers and all those kind of things, and I just don't do them because I have a certain road I want to go down. I will continue to do it until I get to a place where I want to be, and if that means Made in Chelsea, I continue to do it until I get something else, then I'll continue to do it. But they do get very young. Sam Princeman's like 19. It's like 11 years younger than me. That's 2 school generations. I mean, what? Anyway, yeah, good question.
Good, and I think we've got time just for one more there. So, yep, you.
Hi, do you ever watch Made in Chelsea? And if so, have you ever seen something on the show that you feel like you should have been told about in real life but weren't?
Yes, all the time. No idea about anything. I watched it last night where that Harry Brown asked Frankie. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I don't want. I just find out stuff the whole time. It's the worst. You can always see my face. If I don't know what's going on, I will look down because I don't. You do. The producers of the show are very good, and I've done it for 6 years now, and they're very good at finding your skeletons and finding stuff out. So yeah, you get caught out a lot. Never kiss on camera as well. You look awful when you kiss on camera. I mean, kissing is horrendous. So that's another piece of advice if you ever find yourself on television. Be prepared to be screwed over and don't kiss on camera. Just have sex. It's much easier, I think.
And on that note, all that's left for me to do is thank Ed and Jamie for that talk. So could I ask you to do so as well with a big round of applause? And just as I said, just those 2 reminders, so the pub quiz on Friday and also Dustin on this coming Saturday. Perfect. And so, once again, if I could ask you for a round of applause as we head out, that would be fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thank you, Charles.